Welcome to Leo for Leos. I wasn't intending to do this particular video, but I started to shuffle the cards and I felt like this was something that I needed to share with everyone. And the cards that I shuffled were so specific and awesome. I don't want to reshuffle because I really think that the message that was delivered to me in the cards were very, very powerful. Dealing with the age of Aquarius. It's been a question that I've been asked many, many times. What do you think is going to happen with the age of Aquarius? I've also been very, very curious about it myself, so I decided to do a reading on it. I do want to give you a heads up that I read the cards as I see them and not always the way it's traditionally done. I'm going to get started. Today I'm going to be using the Smith-Waite Tarot deck, the Centennial Edition. I'm sorry for those of you who like the shuffling. Again, I wasn't going to post this, and I just felt inspired that maybe that's something I should do because there's a big message in these cards. You know, when I was looking at this, I just was like, oh my God, I have to share this. And before I go into the cards, I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about the Age of Aquarius and what it is. So I'm actually going to read directly from Wikipedia. I know that there are some, there aren't complete and total accuracies with everything on Wikipedia, but this will just give us a summation of what the Age of Aquarius is. If you have any more questions, just go on, the internet and go search, and I'm sure you'll find lots and lots of videos trying to explain what the Age of Aquarius is. They're all very long and lengthy, so let's just get into that right now. The Age of Aquarius in astrology is either the current or forthcoming astrological age, depending on the method of calculation. Astrologers maintain that an astrological age is a product of the Earth's slow precessional rotation that lasts for 2,160 years on average. So a lot of astrologers don't actually agree when the Aquarian age is going to start, or even if it's already started. So that's the big thing here. A lot of people don't even know when it started. But from different calculations, some people believe that the Age of Aquarius will begin on December 21st, 2020. And some people will actually believe that we went into the Age of Aquarius last year. And the age that came before the Age of Aquarius was the Age of Pisces. And the thing about the astrological age is that it affects humanity, possibly by influencing the rise and fall of civilization or cultural tendencies. So what they're saying, and which my reading actually corresponds with, is that traditionally Aquarius is associated with electricity, computers, flight, democracy, freedom, humanitarianism, idealism, modernization. Astrology is involved in there, rebellion, nonconformity, philanthropy, and those are the biggest takeaway from the Age of Aquarius. It's like the biggest growth technologically that a society could probably go on, with the combination of involving morals and spirituality, self-help, all that stuff, all that metaphysical stuff is also included, which I think is really fascinating, because you couldn't get two things that were the most opposite from each other, technology and spirituality, and then somehow putting it all together in in a way that's harmonious, right? Also changing the injustices of the world today. So that's pretty awesome. Human rights is a big thing that people are predicting about this, and that and then there's a darkness between it, because there's, with change, whenever there's change, there's always going to be a pushback. So there's also darkness involved with it, but it's like getting over that age, humanity will be on a different level on the other side. And of course it would be. I mean, 2,000 years is a lot of time for human growth. The way that our society is set up, it's just not really supporting the happiness of the human being. Like, there's something, some people look at it like something's wrong when people are happy. And there's a lot of problems that need to be fixed, a lot of issues that need to be fixed with the human experience and how we look at each other. So there's a lot of unhappy people, And this is really talking about the next step forward. No, we need to look forward to what the new time is all about, the new era, the new year, the new way of looking at our future and looking at what we're capable of as a human species. It's not just about, it is about self in a big, big way, because there's gonna be a big emphasis on self. But there's also going to be an emphasis on so much hope and looking forward with that hope. So that I found very, very interesting there. The second pile I pulled, we start off with the Death card, which is the end of something that we have been doing and feeling. It's the end of the era, really. And so I believe, and this is just an emotional, this is just my assessment of what I know about the Age of Aquarius, and what the messages are sending me is that this Death card is going to happen for people at different times. It's a rebirth in a way, because it's talking about really like, okay, something is no longer going to be the same, and now you've changed forever. And a lot of people haven't gone through the change yet. There's a lot of people who won't go through the change at this very same point. Everyone won't go through the change at the very same point, is what I'm trying to say. Everyone has their own rebirth. Okay, so this is about the ending of a certain way of thinking and the beginning of another. And this could also be like actual groups of people with certain mindsets actually dying out, like actually becoming extinct, because they are unable to change into the new format. So changing is absolutely imperative, or the change will be made for you. And this is talking about the growth. When you have a card like this together, it's like the end of something and the beginning of something new. And the Empress is about giving birth to something brand new. She's a mother, and whatever she touches grows. So that's telling me that this is the death of something old and bringing in something brand new and exciting with a lot of hope. Okay. Now this is the mental walking away from something. Pardon me for one moment. Okay, I'm back. This is the mental walking away from something. And something that, that has been built upon, buildings have been built, institutions have been built, just walking away from that. That's the mental walking away from it. So a lot of people have had enough of a certain thing, and they're ready to move on. They're like, nope, that doesn't work anymore, so we have to go do something different. And it could be governments, and it could be just the idea of certain institutions that no longer serve mankind anymore, or the people. Also, it's a revelation. It's something that happens, like we all discover this. It's sort of like, oh my God, this is such a scam, this is not helping. And if you notice, these goblets are gold, and that takes a lot of money. That takes a lot of money to create gold goblets. So a lot of money has been put into these structures that we're just walking away from. And there's a feeling of feeling trapped by those same structures. Like, we need freedom. People don't feel free. They can't say what they want to say. They can't think what they want to think. And they feel trapped by this. And this is the actual walking away to go somewhere better. To go somewhere better. This is the actual, like, mentally you made the decision. You made the decision to do it, and then mentally you made the decision, and then you made the actual physical decision, and we're all, not you, but everyone is going to be doing kind of the same thing, just walking away from this, just walking away from the past and changing it and going towards a new future. Okay? Again, another walking away, but also losing a lot. There may be people that may lose contact with, and just, it's like win at all cost. But it's a different kind of, it's not just win at all costs. I mean, this guy is smiling. He's actually like, I feel good for doing this, right? And his enemies are walking away. So there, as far as this is concerned, it just really looks like people, standing up for what they believe in, and other people walking away from them, even though they're, they're standing alone. They may be alone. They're willing to take the sacrifice of being alone, than to be around people that are not in their tribe. So there may be more tribalism until we get things sorted out. Okay? But the cool thing about that is that if we do get into more tribalism, or things where people are separating into more groups, there'll be more respect and tolerance. These guys aren't fighting. They're just letting him be alone. And that's cool. So, like, you can have different views from people, but you don't, actually have to go to war with them. And they laid down their arms. They laid down their arms. So there's no war. Okay, this one is a big one, so bear with me as I go through this again. Okay. So, this is about partnerships and relationships. There'll be more communication among people. So here, when you have the sort of people going off into their own secular things, there's still going to be communication. There's still going to be a lot of communication and treaties and people agreeing to coexist with each other. This is about coexisting with others. It's going to take conversation. It's going to take time, but it's also about creating alliances without having to give up who you are. And this is institutional. This is about like this is like a marriage. So the one second, I'm going to just change the lighting really quick. It's a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, this is a marriage. So you have these two factions coming together to marry. Some groups will decide we're so similar, we're so on the same page. We'll do things together. We may even intermingle. We may even just join up and create our own thing. So that's kind of nice there. Just like finding another group that's kind of like yours, and then kind of pooling together and and growing. But there's always there's pushback. There's always going to be pushback to these kind of ideologies and thoughts and things like that. And this could also be talking about governments too, where we have two parties and they kind of come together, but there's also fighting still. And the thing is that the problem is that there are so many ideas. There's so many different ideas that are going on here, and you can't just have one. They're all fighting with each other because of that. Okay? Each group wants to do something different, and that's what's causing the defensiveness and the fighting. And also it's the fight for individualism, because he's alone. So he's fighting for his individuality, which is not a bad fight to have. Yeah, it's not a bad fight to have. Then we have more of like a softening and offers that kind of come, or even ideas that come. Like, hey, we can fix this by doing X, Y, and Z. Like solutions to problems, or someone offers something where there's like a peace offering, if you will, like, and this is where it's kind of interesting, because we have where people are really fighting, and they've been so tired. But they're still ready to fight more. This is a relenting spirit that will always fight for justice, and there's a lot of upheavals that are coming. A lot of things that we're going to be looking at in the next 2,000 years that we never looked at before, and we're going to be ready to tackle each and every one. It means like all of the things that bother us when we keep us up at night, every single thing will be tackled and will be looked at, and we're going to be charging forward to rectify the situation. Right? Look. He's attacking that. The knight is attacking the problem. And it's going to take strength. That's it. I mean, it's going to take strength, because there's going to be a lot to go through. And we're going to be trying to heal ourselves. There's going to be a lot of healing happening, which is great. Right? That's what we want. And people will be talking about justice and doing things right, doing things the right way. And then there's individuality. Doing things on our own, like just uplifting the human spirit, so that way each person will have their own stuff, will have their own ability to be wealthy, their own ability to be stand on their own. It's about the uprising of the human spirit, and also the growth of the human spirit too, the mastery of the human spirit. And growing that foundation. Again, when we talk about kind of like a marriage, like there's a marriage between the practical and the spiritual, and trying to create a harmony. Trying to create a harmony. And then being in a place where you have to make a decision. Everybody will have to make a decision. It's going to be interesting. Okay. So the decisions, right? Everybody will make this choice to either have to be more adventurous, go-getting, a hustler, kind of a very a doer, somebody who's out to do in the practical world, or become more spiritual, become more in tune with the unknown. That's going to be a decision a lot of people will do. Also, some people will choose to do both. Some people will just choose to do both of them. And helping one another is going to be another big aspect of it. Gosh, I can never get out of this terrible light. It keeps chasing me. Let's see if I can fix it. There we go. Yep, there's going to be a big emphasis on charity. A big emphasis on charity and giving to other people, and philanthropy. We talked about that a little bit. That was in my read. Just sharing the wealth. Sharing the wealth. The rich giving to the poor. The poor, giving to the poor. Like, it's about so that way everybody can stand up. So that way everybody can stand up. That everybody can get to this level. And for a lot of people that are out there, a lot of the times, a lot of the stuff that's going on with them is mental. If we can deal with the mental trauma of being a human being and get to that level, we could change a lot of things. And then there's a vast concentration on not just getting one piece of humanity correct, but everything. So there is going to be a lot of new buildings being erected. There's going to be lots more riches going around. There's going to be a lot more emphasis on the human experience. There's going to be more of an emphasis on, like, the unknown and science and technology. Okay, the things that we don't know, fascinating adventures to places and regions we don't quite understand. There's a lot of opportunity, and we're going to hit them all. This is not just what we dream. This is actually what we're going to be doing. And there's a lot of work ahead. A lot of work ahead. A lot of work ahead. and it's good work. It's work that we enjoy and we love. And sometimes this card can be about being selfish, but this card in this case is about again the human satisfaction, human experience, but how to create and how to keep humans happy, the secret to happiness. And this person is actually a host. He's hosting a lot these. He's hosting like an event where all these cups are here. So it's almost as if each person is going to be responsible for helping to maintain happiness amongst each other. We're going to be responsible for each other. And it's a very unique way of seeing this card, but that's what the messages are getting. And this is the odd one that kind of came out, is the, pity party. And we're always going to have, pity parties have been happening since the dawn of time, but it's like looking at the things that we don't have, while ignoring the things that we do have. But it's also about, it's an empowering card, because it inspires us to move, to do things, to manifest more, to dream, and have hope. So that pity party is actually like, okay, let's write down a list of the things that we don't have and that we need, and then thinking of ways to make it happen, to change the fate. And again, this is like a more romantic thought about the future. There's a lot of people will be daydreaming and coming up with fantastical solutions, but maybe they're not quite solutions, but dreams just yet. But again, it'll take the hard work to make them reality. And then through that, there will be victory for most people. Okay? All right, let's get to this pile. Sorry for that. It just had to change the lighting again. All right, so let's see. So we're stepping into a brand new world, and I'm not sure as far as the timing when this will be, whether this will be in the beginning or if it'll take 1,000 years before we get there. But as a human race, we will be stepping into something new. Okay, we had the death happen, and now actually the change had to happen, and then this is stepping into something new. And there's going to be a lot of people planning on committees, planning on trying to do things. We're looking at the past and seeing all the decisions that we made that weren't really smart, or that hurt the countries, or hurt the planet, hurt the human race. And we're looking to fix those issues and make amends, because ultimately we want to get to this happiness spot. We want everyone to be happy. And I know this is, very idealistic, very unrealistic according to our world today. However, this could actually be a reality. That's the beauty of the Age of Aquarius, is that the things we always thought was impossible can actually happen with hard work and actually coming together with the enemy, and actually coming together and come to a conclusion. People of different groups coming together to create solutions. Here it is. It's gonna take formulas. It's going to take give and take. Give and take. If you can notice the give and take. There's going to be like trying to balance out the good and the things that we said we would never do, and it's going to take compromise, negotiations. It's going to take trust building, that kind of thing. It's going to take time. And this is, this is basically the rebirth of mankind. Again, I don't know how long this will take, but this will happen. People will be reborn into a new thought process, a new way of looking at other people that are different from them. There will be more techniques of how to talk to each other, how to communicate with each other. There'll be a lot more resources for us, and that will help guide the change along. And there'll be a lot to deal with, a lot to juggle, and some of that we'll be juggling is basically like doing the things that we were used to doing, and like getting things done, because people want to, people haven't lost their drive and their passion for things, but getting things done and seeing the world clearly, seeing everything with open eyes, knowing a lot more than we ever knew before. A lot more than we ever knew before, because we'll have a little bit of information about everything at our fingertips, even more so. So we'll know a little, everybody will know a little bit about astronomy. Everyone will know a little bit about astroscience, or they'll know about rocket science, right? They'll know a little bit about the medical field. No, at least know the human body and where different body parts are, and basic medical treatment. And we'll all know that stuff. Like, different people will know just a little bit about everything. Not enough to be an expert. And maybe some people will even know enough to be an expert or a low-level expert, but they won't, we'll all get to know a little bit of everything. And it will be more, like, people will not rely on just the doctors to know about heart disease. Everyone will know a little bit about heart disease. Everyone, it's already starting to happen, right? We're already starting to have little pseudo experts, living in your apartment building or down your street, right? There's always somebody knows a little something about something, but it'll be even more rampant. We'll all kids especially growing up right now, they'll be experts at least 4 or 5 different things. They won't have the secular training that most people had. They'll have, in the era that came before, they will have a little bit of knowledge about every single topic, which is interesting, because we can really have conversations that are meaningful. We can really get to the bottom of problems if we knew more detail about, hey, is it possible for us to do solar paneling in this apartment building, and how much money will it cost, and what are the things that we need to look out for? We'll be able to have conversations about growth and the economy and all sorts of things like that, which is awesome. It's the age of the information age. It's happening, but it's also in relation to being more spiritual, being more attentive to the human struggle. and also being more like attentive to your neighbor. So that kind of stuff. Again, in any situation like this where we have more people with more knowledge, you're also going to have more fighting and more competition, right? People will be competing against each other. And that's, that's part of, that's something we'll have to work out. You get to the place where you get some conflict, you go through the conflict, and then you get over it, right? But ultimately, we're leading to something that's more harmonious, something that is going to bring people together, and dealing with the emotional struggles of being a human being, the emotional side of what's happening to each and every one of us, and talking about that and putting that out in the open. We're already starting to do it. And then the passion for life returns to so many people. There's so many people who do not have passion for living. And this age will encourage people to really value what life is and value other people's lives too. Okay. So then we have this this person who is worried about money. Okay. And I believe this is how the age is supposed to start, about really trying to hold on to as much money as possible. The rich keep their money. They don't share with the poor. A lot of people are in this, mindset. There's a lot of people who are ready to share as well. But, there's still a very capitalistic, greedy mindset out there for a lot of people who have a lot of money. It's not, I understand it's not their responsibility to share their money. They could do whatever they want with their money, but there is a sense of like, we're gonna keep our money all to ourselves, not realizing that the legacy that they hope to build for their children is actually going to be harmed because the people around them will be suffering. Okay? So they've not built a proper legacy for their children by allowing others to suffer. And this is about like people in general, everyone, learning about money and how it works. And I can tell you personally for myself, this is so true. I've seen this happen. More and more finance channels popping up here and there, or features on finance getting more and more attention, because the economy is one of those things a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand how money works, how to save money, how to invest money, how to buy stocks. But people are learning how to do that now. They're just investigating how does this money thing works, and how come there are so many people at the top with so little people. So little people at the top with all of the money in the world, the 1%, whereas everyone else is struggling and fighting amongst each other to have just a little bit, to even survive. The basic human needs not even being met. So this is about learning about money and understanding money, and there's more and more people who are figuring this thing out. They're like, okay, so money is here to stay. We're going to figure this thing out, and we're going to make it so that way it's not the sole issue in our society that determines whether somebody fails or succeeds. There's people working on that. It's going to have a lot of pushback because there's a lot of greed involved, a lot of people who are just greedy. They want all the wealth all the time, every day, all day long. They want to be the richest guy in the room, the richest girl in the room, and they will not let go of their place. And it's not that they even have to let go of their statue. They're just not unwilling to share. But you know what? Minds are going to change, and it's again taking time. Taking time for minds to change and for economies to change as well. For people to like start to figure out how to get their own growth, and have their own money. And some people are trying to figure out how to have this growth and money outside the grid, right? And that's kind of interesting too. How do you have wealth outside the grid? And it's a lot of a burden. It's a big burden for the average person to try to figure out finances and money and how to save money, how banks work, that kind of stuff. It's like, I just want to, it's already hard enough making the money and paying bills. Why do I have to learn about this? Even though it might, it seems like it might help my situation, I don't even have time for it. I've got kids, I've got problems, we got soccer practice. People are just having a hard time getting out of their own work, their own lives, and making that change. But there is going to be change coming, and it's going to be like big. It's already started. People will bring their head up, raise their heads up and see, oh, we had the clarity card over here, and this is like the brand new day will come. It's just going to, again, take time, and a lot of people are going to be there's going to be stages of people who wake up on their own accord. They're going to, go through their own procession on their own time, and not everyone will do it all the same. So there'll be a cascade, if you will, of people like changing their fate or trying to change their fate. And then once that happens, boom, look at all the creativity and the solutions, and people are going to really start to come into their own as far as like creatively. There'll be more. I mean, if you think any of the centuries before were creative, we're going into a place where art is going to be such a big thing. It's going to be huge. I mean, there's going to be like 4-year-olds that will know how to draw lifelike figures, and it's people will be building incredible architecture, pieces of art. It's just going to get even more expansive as far as the things that human beings can do and their creativity. And here we have the prosperity card. I mean, this is really talking about like there being enough money for all of us. There being enough money to go around without devaluing the specialness of your individuality, right? We all have at least a place to live, food on the table, we have our bills paid, but it's also like we can and we will like explore the things that make us happy, and we have that ability now. If you just want to do the basic as far as like, I just want to come home, sleep, work my shift so that way I can have some cable and I can have some this, that's fine. If you don't have ambition, it doesn't, you'll at least be taken care of. You'll at least have a place to live, and you will at least have some money. But if you have ambition, you will not be sidelined. You'll be given a lot of things to do. And right now there are people with ambition, the energy, they can't get jobs. They can't get jobs. They can't put food on the table. They're starving to death. They have the recourse of only doing crimes in order to survive. That's horrifying. That's all going. Our system is going to be set up a lot different, so that way people can have enough to provide for their homes, to put, Pampers on their children. There will be enough for everyone. And there will be people to see to that, to make sure that everyone has the things that they need. All right, the last grouping. We're finally here. All right, so this is, let's see. Just go through them again. Okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this pile. So, this is talking about kind of the present past, where there's a lot of self-robbery and a lot of other people robbing from each other, looking out for yourself, individual, like selfishness. Okay, there's a lot of that going on. And some people have gone through this already, and some people won't have yet to go through this. And that is a position in which you have to and you must change. If you don't change, you will not get out of the tricky situation. So you will get the idea to change. But once that change happens, or not you, but humanity, people, once the change happens, it's very important that everything happens immediately. There will be immediate changes. Like, people will immediately stop whatever it is they're doing. Like, I'm just saying this, it's not true, but like eating meats, people will stop. Like, people will stop what they're doing immediately, or they will begin to change. They'll begin to enact a change. Sort of like Scrooge at the end of A Christmas Carol. He's like, that very day, he doesn't wait, like, okay, well, next Christmas I'm going to celebrate it. He begins changing immediately. And that's what this is about. It's about the immediate change. And it's so harsh and so, such an about face. Okay, that it might take people by surprise, but it is, again, it feels like Scrooge. Here, it feels like Scrooge's change. There's going to be an emotional change, an emotional outpouring of like, I didn't know that I was doing this. From now on, we're going to be doing things a lot differently. There's going to be more compassion. There's going to be more empathy. And the structures that used to be will be torn down. They'll be taken, they'll be changed. Right? They'll be changed. Regimes will change. Governments will change, definitely. Governments will definitely be absolutely changed forever and ever. I mean, some people may go through a period of not even knowing if they're going to have a government or not. But the governments all over the world will change. If not gradually by force, or a gradual process of like, eventually this will all change over time. But for many governments, it will be like, bam, one day you have a government, the next day you don't. And we're reorganizing the entire system so that it works for everyone, and then there aren't anybody who are left out in the cold. Because people are tired of walking down the street and seeing homeless people in the richest countries in the world. They're tired of that. There's no excuse for it. And so people are going to start making changes that are drastic. And the time, it's a fated change. There's nothing that can be done to stop this change. And there will be, oh, what, 1 second, I have to change the lighting here again. So there is going to be a celebration about all of this. It's going to be like a world celebration. That we're now free of certain things. People will, again, this tower just tells me that governments are going to fall. The ones that have been like feeding the greedy people, they have been serving the rich, and they have been doing absolutely nothing for the poor. These are going to crumble, and people are not going to take it anymore. And again, there's going to be celebration. It's gone. We're free of the wicked witch, right? But there's also going to be heartbreak. Dum, dum, dum. Heartbreak. Nostalgia for the past. People remembering how things used to be when they were kids, and how, oh, remember the day when things used to be so awesome, and they really weren't awesome because you couldn't, you didn't know how bad things were. And that not everybody had liberty and freedom and just the common things that you would need to live for, like food and shelter. And that was slowly, the fear of not having food and shelter slowly drove many people crazy. They're now like have permanent post-traumatic stress disorder because of it. Some people ended up in jail unnecessarily. So there's this kind of like, hey, we missed the past though. Remember how it was in the past? But really not really understanding that it did not, but now understanding that it was a beautiful past that did not include everyone. Okay? And then we have the King of Swords, which is about legally changing things. Legally putting things in place to make sure that to rebuild, right? We're rebuilding not just the government, but the society, and the things that are fair. Okay, we're trying to be fair here. This is a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. A lot of programs to start. Okay, a lot of programs to start. We're going to actually start looking at the countries that have it down pat. Countries that have low crime. Countries that have low poverty levels, right? People, where people are the most happiest. We're going to start looking at those countries and actually implementing a lot of the same dynamics, instead of pretending the things that were in the past were wonderful. We're going to say, no, no, no. We have to, in order for us to be as great as we think we are, we actually have to do the hard work instead of looking back into the past that didn't include everybody. It didn't include everybody. That's why it fails. It fails because it didn't include everybody. And now legal has to meet up with the needs of the people. And there's a lot of work to do. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles, which is a beautiful card to get through all of this struggle, which is actually putting in place the work ethic, and nurturing communities into higher economic standing, nurturing countries into higher economic standing, so that way the basics are even handled. Right? Again, there's a lot of people who are not ambitious. They don't care about ruling the world. They just want to be able to chill out in their farm and know that food's coming on the table and that the roof over their head is paid for. If they want to catch a movie every once in a while, fine. But at least the basics are taken care of. The extras is what they have to work hard on. Okay? So this is like basic health. Like if you get sick, you can go to the doctor and there's not going to be a fee for your health. If you want cosmetic surgery, then you got to work hard to get that money, right? But if it's just a medical problem that is just there, you can do that. You can, if you've got cancer, you can go to the medical doctor and get all that stuff for free. Okay, and that's not a problem that you created. And the question has always been, where is that money going to come from? Who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay for the doctor's bills? Who's going to pay for the medical bills? It will be figured out. There's a solution, but we haven't figured out the solution yet. And that's the problem. We haven't figured out the solution. We haven't figured out how to make it work without putting countries in debt. So we have to figure that out. And this is about figuring it out legally, right? This is about going to work and working on the solution. And this is about actually providing for everyone. This is the providing for everyone. So that's going to be like the first thing that's going to be worked on, is like providing decency for human beings, like a decent living standard for everyone. And some people are, crying over the spilled milk. I don't know what that's about. Some people are crying about the past and like, oh, that, this happened or that happened. I don't know why they're doing that, but there will be a period of mourning what was. Okay? There's just some people who are very romantic about the old way of doing things. Even though people were left out, they're just romantic about that and wish, had fond memories for themselves, but don't realize that, they still have assets. They're not out in the open, they're not out, and, they still have many, many assets. And that the things that they think that they're losing is like actually stuff that they couldn't even enjoy anyway. And then there is the Queen of Wands, really choosing happiness. So look, even though there's going to be people where, there's going to be growth and happiness for a lot of people on a basic level, there's always going to be people who are not happy about what's going on. They feel like they have lost some way. I don't know why, but that's just humanity. And then the Queen of Wands, people choosing happiness, people picking up their tools of creativity and creating things. It's a huge boom of creativity and growth and technology and the arts, human expression. It's going to be wonderful as far as like for for people being more happier. There's going to be more people being happy. The only thing that people will be unhappy for are the good old days, for the people who actually had wealth and actually had good old days. But finally, other people will be catching up and having some of that fun too. And there will be like secrets revealed, things that we did not know that were going on behind the scenes. It may even be like things that we used to think about, different like presidents being revealed, things about like different organizations, because we tore them down. Now we get to see the truth. And it could be shocking and be very, very an eye-opener. Again, we're kind of in a place of solitude for a lot of people, like finding themselves and finding like spirituality, finding their dreams. There is going to be an emphasis on the solo human being. How are you doing today? Like checking in with yourself, self-care, self-love, also finding oneself. And this is really talking about communications, like people communicating more, people talking to each other about the things that matter and that how they really feel, right? The last card I asked, how are you doing? There will be responses. I'm okay. I could use a hand with such and such. And that changes, the communication changes a lot. We've already begun to see that a lot with, the internet and social media, but it's going to be even more communication, even more discussion, even more sharing of ideas. And it may be, excuse me a second. Yeah, and it may be, I don't know. It just seems like there's going to be a lot more communications here, and then we have the sword of truth, like getting to the bottom of what's really the problem, getting to the bottom of the issues, like actually talking to each other and discovering, this is where we can come together, or this is where we will never agree, but since we agree on like 85% of the things, maybe we can have a conversation. It's about knowledge and information, and without communication, you don't get information. Okay? I'm going to say that again. Without communication, you don't get information. So that's why we need to increase the amount of information that the amount of communication that we have individually and as a people. And I believe this is basically talking about our lifetime, not the entire thing, but this is what we can expect to start to see over the next few years. And I hope that that helps relieve us of some of the anxiety that, may be coming about thinking about the Age of Aquarius, because I know there's some doom and gloom reports out there about, it's going to be a huge revolution and that people are going to be upset and that there's going to be overthrowing of governments. There again, I did see that in the cards, but it also is like, every revolution doesn't have to end in a large
amount of people dying, right? We are civilized. We can handle ourselves in a civilized way. Hopefully that won't be the case. There won't be any loss of lives, but it's that it will be more like just getting to just getting to the next age where we can, like, okay, we're gonna do this all legally. There's a big emphasis on the legal aspects of this whole thing. So maybe the takedown will be done in the same manner of which protects it, the bureaucracy that protects it now. And maybe we can fight against that, and we get more smart lawyers who can go in there and fix the issue. Again, we're all going to be a little bit of an expert on everything in the future. There's going to be more people who know more about law, even though they're artists. And there's going to be people who are going to be, doctors who are going to be great at knowing about what's going on in the economy. We're learning about the things that we have trusted other people to do for us, to take care of for us. We've allowed a lot of people to take control over the government. We've allowed experts to handle the economy. We have allowed experts to handle the legal system. And again, the people are going to start to take those three areas, the government, the economy, and the legal system, are going to be taken back by the people. And it's going to finally start working for us. Finally start working for us. And that's more than what you can... I'm really excited about the Age of Aquarius, to be honest. If we can get to a place where things are better for people. I'm so tired of seeing homeless people on the street, and you can't just give them a few dollars because they're not going to, they're only going to... I'm not sure what they're going to do with the money. And some of them are having serious psychological issues, and psychological trust issues too. They don't trust going to these shelters. They don't trust that. And they need a place to stay, and they need food and shelter. Okay, the basics. Food and shelter. The basics. They need that. So, yeah, and I know that there are things in place. Again, a lot of the things that are in place are about taking your information, recording what you do with every step that you take. A lot of those people have been psychologically impaired, and they don't trust that information is not going to be used against them. So there's a lot of reasons why people are out on the street. It's not because they're bad people. They are just made bad choices. It could happen to anyone. And that's the scary part. And again, the systems that we're going to put in place in the future are definitely going to take care of that. So anyway, thank you so very much for watching, supporting, and subscribing. This channel is for Leos, but this particular one is for anyone who wants to watch. But be sure to hit the bell icon if you're interested, to be the first to know when my next video gets posted.